Grr, arg.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of the Mixtape Podcast, where we are reviewing a miniseries. Usually we do movies, but sometimes we do miniseries. The last miniseries we did was Dahmer, about that was a Netflix show on Jeffrey Dahmer. This Halloween special, thank you so much for joining us for this. We are doing the miniseries, the Netflix miniseries Midnight Mass, released in 2021, created by the one, the only, the amazing Mike Flanagan. So the reason we decided to do this is because we wanted to do a Halloween special on the mixtape, and we really hope you enjoy. So what it's going to be is we're going to go through each episode and we're going to speak about the characters. We're going to speak about how the story flows and from a screenwriter's perspective. So that's what we're going to do. And if you want chapters for each episode, say you want to listen to episode 3 and not episode 1 and 2, you can skip to that. Just scroll down and you'll be able to find the chapters. So without further ado, Midnight Mass, the staff writers on Midnight Mass are this: Mike Flanagan, Jamie Flanagan, Danny Parker, Elin Gale, Jeff Howard, and Joyce Sherry. I'm not going to go through who directed each episode because I think it's Mike. I think Mike Flanagan directed every episode of this. Did he?
Yes, Mike. Yes. I can confirm that, ladies and gentlemen. Mike did it all.
So if you haven't seen Midnight Mass, which is an amazing, epic miniseries on Netflix, it is about this. An isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious priest. Episode 1, entitled Book I, Genesis. So right off the bat, we meet our main protagonist. We meet Riley, and he was basically drunk driving. He killed a girl. He gets convicted. He goes to jail. And basically, his whole thing in the show is he has survivor's guilt because he's killed a young woman. And he kind of has to reevaluate why she died, why he's alive. So he's got a lot of internal conflict going. And then it goes 4 years later. He's released from jail, but he has to go back home to Crockett Island, which has a population of 127 people. Now, Crockett Island is, as it says, it's an island. So you have to get a ferry from the mainland. But what I love, what Mike does in a lot of his stuff, Mike Flanagan, is he puts his characters in situations that he isolates them. So there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. And that is key to writing amazing horror. Trap your characters, fuck them up, and they'll try to find a way to survive or they'll just fucking die. So we meet Riley's family. We meet his dad, his mom, and his brother, and the youngest brother, Warren, and his friends decide to go to a secluded place on the island when there's a lot of cats. It's just the place where all these feral cats congregate, and you can hear them meowing and fighting and all this shit. And he turns his flashlight, and he turns it. He thinks he's going to point it at a cat, but and Mike does this so well. The villain of the story, which you don't actually get a clear picture of until many episodes later, you just see the eyes. They're just these two eyes looking at you, and his flashlight goes onto this dark black thing with these eyes, and you're sort of like, whoa. And this is in the first episode. This is when you get a gauge of maybe there's something supernatural going on, but you're not sure. But what Mike does through the episodes is he builds it up. So that's what you do with horror. You have to build up tension. You can't just have everything at the beginning. It goes very, very slowly until it gets to the crescendo where you're like, oh shit. So let's talk about the first bit. That was the first bit of episode 1. Let's talk about that and Riley and his character and his family and the supernatural element. And then I'll go into the second half of episode 1. What did you think?
I really like the opening of this miniseries because Mike starts the miniseries focused in on a emblem on Riley's car. It's a fish emblem. He backs up slowly and he pans over to the paramedics doing CPR on this woman who was just in a car accident. And then the camera pans back and you see Riley sitting on the curb. The thing that I like about it is Mike focuses on the paramedics doing CPR to this woman who is dying on the pavement. And the way that he just keeps us focused on the woman for more than a couple seconds, he does such a good job with making you so uncomfortable. It's so unbelievably awful watching these paramedics trying to save this woman. And then he switches back to Riley sitting on the cover going, she's going to be okay, right? She's going to be okay, right? She's going to be okay, right? The paramedics realize that she's dead and gone. And Riley goes, oh my God. And then he starts praying. And then a paramedic comes over and says, why, since you're praying now, why don't you ask him why the young ones always die and the drunk ones stay alive? There was something about that line that just hit me in a particular way. So I love that. Also, I love in the courtroom scene when Riley is standing up and he's watching the judge read him his sentence. I love that he takes responsibility right away. And he says, I'm guilty and I will accept the sentence of 4 to 10 years in jail. The last thing that I love, when Riley's sitting in his jail cell and the lights go out, he leans back and he's about to go to sleep. And Mike tilts the camera. So the camera goes like sideways. Great directing, by the way. And Mike does a slow push in on Riley's face. A sound of like magnetic doors start to hum like once, twice, 3 times. And all those 3 times, you see what Riley is seeing. And Riley is haunted by the vision of the girl that he killed on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
That is such good visual storytelling, and it's so masterful. When we finally get to meet Riley's parents in earnest on the island, we find out that they're very religious. They're a bunch of they're fishermen, and we find out that Riley's father has this sort of disconnect with his son because of what Riley did. In these opening scenes, you get such a good idea of what these characters are and what their motivations are, and you get a really good sense of them as people. To address your final point about when Riley's younger brother and his other 2 friends go over to the other island, and when they see that dark image in the bush, the first time I saw the show, I'm like, holy shit, what is that?
The image, I love what Mike did here. The image of the girl that he killed, like you said, when he goes to sleep, he sees the image. He sees her standing in front of her. He sees the image of what he last saw. So she was lying on the ground and she had glass all in the side of her face. That's the image he sees, but also he sees the red and blue lights of the police reflecting off of the glass of her face. And that's what he sees when she stands in front of him. And I've never seen someone do that before. It's really, really cool the way that he did that. What do you reckon?
That's a really, really, really interesting little add-on.
So now we meet, I would say, antagonist. We meet a character called Bev Keane. She works for someone called Monsignor Pruitt, which we haven't met yet, and he's 80 years old. And then we meet Father Paul, who says that Father Pruitt, who's again 80 years old, he fell ill on his pilgrimage. He went to a pilgrimage in Jerusalem, and he fell ill, and he's filling in for him because he's on the mainland trying to recover, and he sent him in his stead. And then we learn a storm is coming, and it hits. But it's funny, when the storm hits, Riley looks out the window and he sees someone on the beach dressed as Monsignor Pruitt. But the way that Mike has done this is it looks like a person, but it doesn't look like a person. Like, you don't see their face, but you see the way that their body shape is, and you can tell it's not like a person. And then Riley runs out and tries to get him out of the storm.
It looks like something not of this world.
Yeah, but because it's raining and it's dark, Riley doesn't notice this, but kind of right. We do. And then the next morning, when everybody wakes up, they go to the beach and they see all the dead cats, the cats that were on the island where the boys were. They're all dead. They've all washed up on shore. But when we look at the cats, it looks like their throats have been kind of gashed, and there's no blood, so all their blood is gone. And at this point in the first episode, it's alluding to what it is, but you kind of don't know what it is yet. But you're like, okay, this is weird. And then we're introduced to Erin, which is a great character, and she's an old flame of Riley's, and she's pregnant, and they used to go out. They used to spend heaps of time together because they grew up on the island, and she's a really good counterpart for him, I think. So that was everything that happened in episode 1.
I really, really liked episode 1 because I think Mike did a masterful job at setting the table and really introducing all our main characters in a very, very fast, efficient way. One quick thing about Riley's mother and their religion and the way that they view religion. But I do not like people who force their religion onto other people unwillingly, and I hate that. And there's a specific scene in the first episode where Riley and his family is sitting down to dinner. And Riley is sort of trying to explain. Riley is talking to his younger brother. They're sitting across from each other. His mother sitting to his right, and the father sitting at the head of the table. And his mother goes, "Oh, we're all going to go to church tomorrow. I think it'd be a really good thing for you to go." And Riley's like, "No, Mom, I don't really do that anymore. I'm not interested with that anymore. That's just not me." And Riley's mother is very forceful. She doesn't say fuck that, you're gonna go, but she kind of like doesn't really listen to what he says, and she just keeps talking. I hate that, because that to me sounds like someone who doesn't respect Riley, and I'm like, that's not cool.
That's everything. When someone tries to force any belief system on anybody, it's fucked, because it's like, that's your belief system, that's not mine. This is episode 2, book 2, Psalms. So now, Mike Flanagan. You're epic in every single way, Mike Flanagan. You did an epic 7-minute no cutaway scene on the beach. 7-minute. And for those people that have no idea, what's a no cutaway scene? It's a continuous scene with no cuts. That's what it is. I don't know if he jumped on the camera. Some directors like to jump on the camera when they do scenes. I don't know if he was on the camera or if he just told the cameraman to do it, but it's the most epic thing he's ever done.
For my money, I think that he actually had different cameramen. I don't think he was. I think that he was behind one of the cameras, but not all of them.
Right. I have no idea. But yeah, that was just a masterful scene. And they're on the beach and they're talking about the dead cats. What the fuck are they going to do? Why? Who has drained all the blood from the cats? The mayor is there. The sheriff is there. Now, the sheriff and his son is interesting because everybody else on the island is Catholic except the sheriff and his son. They're both Muslim. Now, nobody on the island seems to have an issue with it. Nobody
except one person.
Except one person who's very fucking passive aggressive about it.
Bitch.
But yeah, bitch. But everybody else is kind of like they don't really. The only person that has an issue with it is the sheriff, because he's used to people putting him down for his religion. So really, and I'm going to get to his big monologue scene. I have a lot to say about that. That's in a few more episodes. But anyway, we're talking about this. They're trying to figure out what to do with all the dead cats. And there's two characters, one girl that's in a wheelchair and another character that put her in that wheelchair accidentally. He was hunting, he shot his gun, it accidentally pierced her spine, and now she's disabled. She's in a wheelchair. Now, he's kind of like the drunk, the recluse of the town. Nobody really talks to him. He keeps to himself because he just feels fucking awful about what he's done and he can never make it up to her ever. And he's got this dog. And it looks like a fucking hound of hell, but it's quite sweet. It doesn't attack anybody. But Bev Keane does not like this fucking dog. It's a menace. It could have attacked me at any moment, even though he's like he's never attacked. He looks rough, but he doesn't attack anybody anyway. They're at the island town festival, and his dog gets poisoned. Now, in a previous shot, Bev Keane had poison. And she told the sheriff when the sheriff came knocking on her door, she's like, well, I put poison everywhere because there's feral cats and I did it for the... She fucking squirms her way out of fucking everything. But we know she fucking killed the dog because we know she doesn't like it. And we know that the dog was eating like a fucking a hot dog before that, and then the dog died. Everybody knows that Bev did it, but nobody wants to say anything. I'm going to get to Bev later on because there's a lot more shit I want to say about her, but that's just, she poisoned the dog. So we know what she's willing to do when she doesn't like something. So it wasn't a nothing burger. It was like, oh, she's actually quite fucking dangerous, but she's so passive aggressive about it. It's like people just believe her. It's such a fucking great character. Anyway, there is a really awesome scene when Riley opens up to Father Paul, who is played brilliantly by the actor named Hamish Linklater. He's an amazing Father Paul.
He's so good.
He's so cool.
He's so
cool. Now, he opens up about God because he was a believer, but after this happened, he's not. He's completely atheist. He's like, I don't believe anything. Why did I survive and why did she die? So he opens up, how can God allow suffering? And people just accept it by saying, well, God works in mysterious ways. That's their sort of like God get out of jail free card. But Father Paul brings up a really good point, and that's what I love. I love the writing about in this episode, because what Mike Flanagan does, because he predominantly wrote every episode with other writers on board, is he does it from both perspectives. He writes it from the atheist perspective, but then he counters it by doing it from the faith perspective, and he does it that he balances it. Not one outranks the other. It's quite balanced, which that's what you should be. I love it. But Father Paul brings up a really good point. He says, yeah, but what about personal responsibility? And that is so true. So Riley's going, oh, why didn't God stop this? God allows suffering. And Paul's basically like, yeah, but you make the decisions. You made the decision to drink. You made the decision to get into the car. Like, it's not God's purpose to stop people from making shit decisions. You made that decision, which he's not fucking wrong. And Riley kind of sits there and goes, yeah, okay. So that's the first half of episode 2.
I really liked episode 2, but the main reason why I liked episode 2 is that interaction between Father Paul and Riley, with them talking to each other in the rec center about what Riley thinks about God and what Riley thinks about faith in general. And listen, as an atheist, guys, I loved what Father Paul said to Riley about the point of personal responsibility, because he's right. God or whatever higher being you pray to, that individual is responsible for all that we live on, if you believe in that sort of thing. But that individual does not stop you from robbing a liquor store or having sex with your wife or driving drunk or killing somebody. That onus is on you. So I love it that Mike had this philosophical conversation about responsibility and what it means, but he put it in a religion wrapper. I love the way that Mike and his other writers did that, because here's the thing, guys. If you're watching something with just two people in a room talking, sitting across from each other in chairs, and you're captivated by the whole thing, that is good writing. That is masterful writing. Now, I would like to say something about the town drunk guy. I really felt bad for this guy. He's just like a old, musty fisherman that drinks a lot. But when I first saw this series, I was like, so was he always a drunk, or did he did he become this way after what he did to the girl in the wheelchair? I had a question about that. Was that ever explained, or was that ever mentioned what he was like before he hit her?
I don't think so. I don't think he was before. I'm not sure though.
So he became basically the town drunk after the accident with the girl in the wheelchair.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. That is a really interesting. If that's indeed true, that is a really, really interesting flip of the script, because normally in popular media, the town drunk is always the town drunk.
Yeah. Yep.
And and then the town drunk does something awful, and then he throws himself off a cliff. So that is a really, really that's a really interesting flip of the script by Mike and his other writers. This woman, evil Satan woman. I hate this woman so much.
You know who she's like? She's like the Christian zealot from The Mist, the movie The Mist, but not as bad.
Okay. All right. This woman is the worst kind of religious individual. Because these people are the ones that can go nuts. Her passive aggressiveness and her way of getting out of things is just so wonderful. I believe it's in the first episode, when Aaron meets this devil woman, and she's in the closet, and Aaron is looking for some Windex, and Aaron has a box of poison in her hand, and she gives Aaron the story about the rats. That is such good setup. That is such good setup.
So now we have a POV shot of something flying over the town. Now, the sound effects in this shot are you can hear wings flapping, but quite large wings. So it's not really a bird. It's something a little bit bigger, but we don't really see what it is. And you're like, okay, what's going on here? Again, you haven't really seen what it is. And then we're with Erin in her house, and she looks out her window. It's night outside, and she sees a man standing in the dark. Now, fuck me, Mike does this so well. It's an inside shot. He's looking outside the window, and there's trees outside. So for a second, he holds the shot for a second. And you're like, oh, it's like James Wan in Insidious all over again. You're like, oh, it's just trees. And then the thing moves, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, if you watch it a second time, you can see it there, but it's one of those optical illusions where you don't see it until it moves, and you're like, oh my fucking God. That's so fucking creepy. He just knows horror. He just knows how to do it. He's just drenched himself in horror, which I absolutely love. Directly after that scene, there is a man, and he's walking home at night, and there is an abandoned house on the island, and he hears noises coming from inside it, and he ends up going inside, and this thing is in there again. We don't really see it. We just see these glowing eyes, and he kind of gets pulled in, and you're like, oh, okay, so there's something on the island. There's obviously killing people. Again, episode 2, there's little bits of supernatural stuff, but like not a lot, which is good because there's 7 episodes, so it's ramping up. And then we go to the church where Father Paul is giving a sermon. Now, Father Paul has been, when he gives sermons, he does the sacrament, which is the body of Christ, blood of Christ, which is the non-alcoholic wine, and the bread that he gives, that the priests or whatever give people at the church. But in this particular mass, the girl in the wheelchair is sitting like at the front, and he has the bread, right? And he goes, come and get it. And everyone's like, oh my God, why is he being a dickhead? Like, she's in a wheelchair. Clearly she can't fucking come, because there's stairs leading up to him. And they're like, oh my God, what is he doing? And she's like, come on. And then she gets up and she takes a few steps towards him, and everyone's like, oh my fucking God, what's going on? And that's where the episode ends.
That was very, very confusing to me the first time I saw the show, because look, as a disabled individual, what that girl does cannot happen.
No.
Because, and if you're listening to us right now and you're yelling at me right now, just wait. If you are disabled, and if you are disabled from your feet down, you cannot, like if you stand up, you will fall because you're dead. Your legs are dead. So when I first saw this show, I was like, bullshit, Mike. That's the only thing. I was like, this is ridiculous. Doesn't make sense. But I really thought about it for a minute. And if you pay attention, every time that we see Father Paul and the congregation in mass, we see several shots of this young woman in the wheelchair drinking from this cup. There's something in the cup that gives her the ability to stand up at the end of this episode. But you don't notice it. At first I didn't notice it, but in my second rewatch and in my third rewatch, I start to notice it. And there's a shot, and I believe it's in this episode, when Father Paul holds up the receptacle that he has the blood of Christ in. And Mike shoots her from above, and you see what's in the cup, and what's in the cup is red. So I'm like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be standard water. It's not supposed to be red. What is that?
Isn't it supposed to be non-alcoholic wine though? Isn't it supposed to be red?
When I still had a soul. I drank from that cup, and that shit was white. It wasn't red.
Oh, okay. Next episode 3, entitled Book 3, Proverbs. So Riley asks Father Paul how he knew that the girl in the wheelchair could walk, because he says, I know you knew. How'd you know? And again, the writing in this show is so good. And Father Paul says, I have an answer, but it wouldn't satisfy you, so I'm just not going to say it. And Riley kind of pushes him more. And Father Paul goes, well, what if I told you I just knew? And Riley kind of looks at him. He goes, see, you would want more of an answer, right? But that's my answer, and you're not going to be happy with it. And Riley goes, yeah, I suppose I would want more of an answer. And I love that, because when anybody asks anybody a question, there is always an answer, but you kind of know what's going to go over someone's head and what they're going to understand. So some people they just say, I don't know. Not that they don't have an answer, but because whatever I say, you're not going to get it, or you're not going to believe it. So I love that was brought forward in the screenwriting of this.
You know what Father Paul did?
What?
He came down to Riley's level.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
It's such a good the way that he did it, and the other thing that he did in that particular scene is he used reverse psychology as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Because he took what Riley was giving him, which was, how did you know that she was going to be able to do that?
Mm.
And then he turned it.
Mm.
It's just again, folks, it's just brilliant writing and brilliant acting by these two actors.
So now we learn about Monsignor Pruitt. He's 80 years old. He went to Jerusalem on a pilgrimage. So he wanders into the desert because he's got dementia, doesn't know where he's going, and there's a huge fucking sandstorm, and he comes upon a cave. He goes inside the cave. He sees in the dark, because it's during the day, he sees in the darkness of the cave there's a creature. Now, again, you see it, but you don't really see it. And he walks into the darkness, and this winged humanoid vampire creature jumps on him and starts feeding on him from his neck. And then when he's done, he offers his blood from the vampire's vein, to drink, and Pruitt drinks it. And the next morning when Pruitt wakes up, he's young. And we find out that Monsignor Pruitt is actually Father Paul, a younger version of Father Paul.
Wait a minute. What? No way.
Stop.
When I saw this episode for the first time, I lost my fucking mind.
Oh, yeah, me too. I was like, what? What's happening? I love this.
First of all, I love the way that Mike structures this reveal, because we see Father Paul confessing to somebody. He's in a confessional, and he's telling you this story about this guy who's looking for something, right? He's like on his last legs, and he's looking for an answer, right? He's talking about somebody who has a crisis of faith. And while he's having this conversation in the confessional, you see the images of this old of Father Pruitt going to Jerusalem and getting lost and going into the desert. When Father Pruitt steps into the cave, like, there's this moment that scares the shit out of me. The cave is completely dark. Father Pruitt lights a match, and behind him you see the winged figure, and it's so terrifying. When I first saw this episode, I had to stop the episode because it scared the shit out of me. The way that Mike directs that scene is so good, because first of all, it's creepy, but you don't expect there to be something behind Father Pruitt when he lights that thing. But the fact that the thing is right there, it scares the shit out of you. So I love the way that he directs it, and I love the way that he skirts expectations. At this point, you think that Father Pruitt and Father Paul are two different people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The last thing that anybody's thinking that they're the same person. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And furthermore, more visual storytelling. Towards the end of the episode, there's a moment when, Mike goes to where Father Paul is staying on the island. He goes to his house, and there's an article on the wall Mike pans up to the article and focuses on the image in the article, and the images of a young man, of a young priest standing at a church, and it turns out to be Father Paul. The writing on the article says Father Pruitt, and you're like, wait a minute, what?
This is when things start going astray. Father Pruitt, he thinks this creature is an angel. That's where it starts getting fucked.
Do you think that Father Pruitt, because I'm not going to call him Father Paul anymore, do you think he's crazy?
I think he's religious. He's got dementia. This creature, just by drinking this creature's blood, he's become young and vibrant again. I don't begrudge him for thinking it's an angel, but I do begrudge him for not fucking sitting there for a second and waiting and saying, wait a minute, let me just think about this for a second. That's what he didn't do. He's like, oh my God, this is an angel. I have to show everybody. So what does he do? He fucking gets this trunk, packs up this fucking demon in a trunk, brings it back to the fucking island because he's like, it can help. It can help everybody.
Why would he do that?
Because he knows that the blood of this thing is miraculous. It can heal anything.
Yeah, but hold up. But I won't say that. But that is, I think. Listen, I'm being honest here. I think that is really, really dumb.
I can understand why he thought it was an angel. I can, because he doesn't know the consequences of what people will become until later. He doesn't know the full story, which is why nobody should make decisions unless they know the full story about anything, right? They don't. He's just like, oh my God, I'm younger. Cool, let's do it. And I'm like, So he does that. And then Father Paul gets this weird sickness. He's just he's throwing up. He's sick. Nobody knows what's going on. And he falls and he dies. He's dead. But he dies in front of Bev Keane and the mayor, and then he comes back to life. And they're like, what? Now, you mentioned the newspaper clipping on his wall of when he was young. I have a question for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
How long has Monsignor Pruitt been on that island, and how come only one person, which was the doctor's mother, we'll get to that, recognized him as a young man? Does nobody know what this guy looks like as a young man?
Okay. How long has that person been on the island? Mike said early on, he's been on the island all his life.
Right.
So that is, I think that's an oversight by Mike and the fellow writers, because it doesn't make any sense. Because if you've been on an island your entire life, somebody should have seen pictures of you when you were younger. Somebody else should have noticed that there's some similarities between Father Pruitt and Father Paul. Somebody should have noticed that.
The only person that noticed was the 80-year-old woman that was his age, because they used to be together. But maybe because people come and go from the island, all the people on the island seem to be in their 30s, 40s, 50s. But even then, like, even if they've been on the island for 20, 30 years, you'd still know, I guess. Next episode 4, entitled Book 4, Lamentations. So by this episode, because everybody's drinking the sacrament, all the townsfolk seem to be getting younger, and their ailments seem to be disappearing. Now they have no fucking idea what's going on. And the doctor, who I really like the doctor in this episode, she takes Erin's blood. Erin is pregnant, but she takes her blood. She does an ultrasound. Erin is no longer pregnant. And the doctor says, you had a miscarriage. And she's like, I didn't have it, like I would know. But there's no markers in her blood to say that she was ever pregnant. And so now they're saying it's a hysterical pregnancy, and it's like, wait, what? So she has no idea where her baby's gone, and was she crazy? I don't know. And so the doctor takes her blood, and when the doctor puts Erin's blood in the sunlight, it starts bubbling and steaming like it doesn't like the sunlight. And you're like, oh. So there is a fantastic conversation between Riley and Erin about what happens when you die. This is masterful dialogue. This is masterful screenwriting because, again, Riley's coming from atheism. Erin's coming from faith. Riley basically says, this is what I think what happens when you die. My body turns to dust. I cease to exist. And there's no more pain. But basically that's what he says. When I die, I die. My body turns into dust, it turns into mulch, whatever. And there's no more fucking pain. Erin is a bit more on the spiritual side, and she says that her body dies, but her soul goes to a place, maybe heaven, I don't know what she calls it, where she meets her family and everything is basically as it should be. Like her soul goes to an amazing place and she leaves her body behind. That's the first half of episode 4.
I really like this episode. And essentially because the thing that I like about it is the conversation between Aaron and Riley, and I really like the way that Mike showed again the differences in their belief system, with Riley being the atheist, with Riley being an atheist, and Aaron being of someone who believes in faith. But this conversation really made me think, and I'm like, because as an atheist, I'm totally with Riley on this. When you die, whatever you were on this mortal coil ceases to exist. What Aaron said really struck a chord with me, in that maybe you do go to a better place when you die. Maybe what heaven is an endless dream. What Aaron said made me believe that maybe there is something after. The source of a good show is a show that can make you think and make you question your own belief system. And I think that this conversation between Riley and Aaron just did that for me in spades.
Meanwhile, Father Paul is slowly turning into a vampire. So there's
No shit.
So there's that. We find out he can't go out in the sun because it burns his skin. So there's that. And then he keeps getting sick and he doesn't eat food. And then someone comes to check on him and he kills this poor guy who's come to check on him, drinks his blood, and he's realized, oh, that's better. But the funny thing is, Bev Keane walks in. He's got blood all over his face. This guy's dead on the floor. And she just fucking goes along with it with no issue. Fucking goes along with it. Fucking Bev. Fucking hell.
It's unbelievable to me that this woman doesn't do anything. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you this. Why do you think this woman is like this?
Do you know what? I would have loved a little bit of backstory on Bev. We don't know why she's like this. And I would love to know why.
Because this series is great, but you make a great point. We don't know that much. We don't know much about this evil witch of an individual.
Yeah, I would like to know a lot of backstory. I think the reason she goes along with it is because her faith is so strong. It's kind of, you know what it is?
Blinding.
She has cognitive dissonance. Look it up. Cognitive dissonance is basically when you believe something wholeheartedly and nothing is going to deter that. Facts are not going to deter that. Someone lying dead in front of you, you dismiss everything because you're like, no, this is what it is. Because if you get knocked out of that belief system, who the fuck are you? It's like her entire life she's dedicated to the church, and it's like she doesn't want that belief to go away. So I think that's why she goes along with it.
I will take that. I think she's blinded by her faith.
Yes. So the last bit of the episode, Father Paul at night, he's in the church, and the vampire walks in a coat and a top hat, but it's very menacing. It's not funny. He walks to the back of the church and he puts his blood in the wine, the sacrament. But as he's doing that, Riley comes in and busts them. And this vampire turns around, sees him, and basically attacks Riley and fucking kills him. Only a few people, aka Mike Flanagan, can get away with killing off their main character of the fucking story. But that is the end of episode 4.
The end of episode 4. Do you guys understand the balls that it takes to kill your primary main character before your show is even over?
Kevin Williamson.
What the hell? Yeah, he does
Drew
that.
Barrymore in Scream.
When I saw the show for the first time, I couldn't believe it because I'm like, what the hell are you going to do now? How is this show, like, who is going to be the audience's conduit now with Riley dead?
Next episode 5, entitled Book V, Gospel. So basically the whole episode is Father Paul explaining to Riley, because Riley is awake now because he's dead, he's fucking undead, he's a vampire. how Riley is alive, he's died, but he's come back, and basically what he is now, which is a vampire. Yet Father Paul still thinks that this thing is an angel. The thing is, he hasn't experienced anything bad. Even when he killed that person, he still thinks the trade-off is worth it.
So wait a minute. So, but how is his logic sound? Because he killed a person.
Yeah.
And even after that, he's still blinded, and he still believes that this vampire demon is a good thing. I don't understand how we can rationalize that.
There is such good dialogue when he says, "Oh yeah, I know I killed someone, but I don't have any guilt. I feel nothing." And it's amazing to feel no guilt. I think that's why he thinks it's an angel, because the angel has taken away all his shit emotions. When Father Paul is turned, he doesn't realize his soul is taken. That's why he doesn't feel anything, but he says it's a good thing because you never feel bad about anything ever again, which he thinks is a good thing, but it's actually not a good thing, because the reason we feel bad about things, it's a moral compass. He has no more moral compass. And Riley can see this. Riley knows this. And so he's kind of looking at him like, I have no idea. And then Father Paul basically says, you have to kill because killing is necessary to stay alive. But don't worry, you're not going to feel bad about it. Right? So it's just like, fuck. You'll feel no guilt about killing and drinking blood. Don't worry about it. And Riley's just like, what the because Riley's already killed someone. So he knows how it feels when you kill someone. And he goes, I don't want to kill anyone else, because his character is already set up of, killing people is fucking bad, because none of these people have ever killed anyone before. So when Father Paul killed that guy, he was like, I feel no guilt. But Riley's already killed someone and he knows what it feels like. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to kill. He didn't say it, but you can see in his face, yeah, I'm not going to go down that fucking road again. So Riley tries to take everything in. And then he starts wandering the town thinking until he finds Erin and asks her to go out in the rowboat with her like when they were young. So they go out in the middle of the ocean with the rowboat, and he tells her,
I brought you out here so I'd have nowhere to go. I'm not as strong as you. I never was. What do I want? I want you to take this boat and row to the mainland and leave this place and never look back. But I knew you wouldn't do that. I knew you wouldn't believe any of this unless you saw. I want you to run. But I believe you're gonna row back there and do everything you can to try and save them. I'm just so sorry you have to see this. I love you, Aaron Green. I love you my whole life. One way or another.
I love you too.
He did it because he doesn't want to escape it. He's basically a suicide run. And then when the sunrise comes up, he bursts into flames while Aaron fucking watches on screaming because he doesn't want to live that way. He does not want to fucking kill people because he knows he already was suffering from survivor's guilt anyway, but that just kind of sealed the deal. And the acting from Kate, which she plays Aaron, is she's just screaming and screaming at the man she loves burning up in the sunlight because he had to show her. Now she turns into the protagonist of the story. She turns into the main character. They've done a switch. Like I said, it's ballsy killing your main character off, but Mike does it very, very well.
This moment, I just want to address this moment first because this moment really hurts. Every time I watch this series, I know this moment is coming, but the moment in the boat between Riley and Aaron is just heartbreaking because I feel that I feel that Riley, since the series has begun, has felt a need to repent. And I believe that the universe threw him into the situation. Him becoming a vampire was his punishment. Not going to jail, not killing that woman. Him becoming a vampire, I think, was his punishment. And his reward was dying in front of the woman that he loved in a boat. Now, am I crazy for saying that? I might be. It's such a wonderful sad scene, and I love that before Riley starts to burn, Mike shows what Riley's looking at, and it's a younger version of Aaron. It's so beautiful. The sunset, the way everything is lit, when the sun comes up, Riley like just turns to ash, and Aaron is in there screaming her fucking lungs out. It's so terrifying. It is absolutely the most unsettling, beautiful thing I may have ever seen in a show. Also, just a quick word on Father Pruitt's attempt to make Riley understand that being a vampire is better than being a human, and you know, and the way that he justifies the vampire person being an actual angel by saying, if this guy is not an angel, then why, you know, angels make it so you don't feel any pain. So that's how I can prove that he is an angel and not a demon of hell.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, folks. If you don't, having a soul is something that's very important to being alive and being a human being. Having a soul and understanding what's right and what's wrong is the key part of being a human being. When Father Pruitt submitted to becoming a vampire, he lost the thing that made him him. And that's why he thinks like that now.
Yep. Next episode 6, Book 6, Acts of the Apostles. So Erin, after Riley burst into flames in front of her, she goes to the doctor and she tells the doctor what she saw. And she goes, I know it must be crazy. But the doctor, having seen Erin's blood burst into flames in the sunlight, is kind of on the same page. Like she doesn't think she's crazy, but she shows her the blood she took from her much younger mother now and puts it in the sunlight and it bursts into flames. So her hypothesis is this. People have been ingested, the whole town have been ingested something from somewhere that repairs damaged cells and is photosensitive, and it creates like an anemia in the body and a desperate hunger for iron, and iron only found in blood. And the more you ingest, the more pronounced the symptoms are. So that's why people aren't bursting into flames when they go out into the sun, because there's not enough of the vampire blood in their system to do that. There's just little bits. But when Riley got bit, he died and he turned into kind of full vampire.
That is such a good explanation for how vampire blood works. That is so good.
It's the best I've found.
Yeah, because look, you know what Mike and his other writers did there? They made it, they gave an actual plausible scientific explanation to how vampire blood could work. I've never seen that before.
Me neither. I loved it. Makes sense.
It's so well done.
Mm-hmm. The fact that the vampires need blood because they're severely anemic, I fucking love that.
That's great. I mean, who would think of that?
Mike.
Mike.
So, okay, I have a massive issue with this. The doctor goes to the sheriff and the doctor says something's going on with St. Patrick's Church, the church that's on the island, the church that's run by Father Paul. Something's going, she doesn't know what, but she asked the sheriff, can you please investigate the church? Please, there's just something going on. Now, the sheriff has this fucking speech that is very unprofessional. He starts talking about how he joined the NYPD force and he's Muslim, and you know, they started backing away from Muslims after 9/11 because they thought they were all terrorists and all this other shit, and people started looking at him sideways and people started being, you know, shit towards him because, you know, of their fucking, you know, everybody is Catholic and he's not, and all this shit. And basically what he's saying is that he's like, do you want to know why I took up the post on this island? Well, yeah, I know why. Because you wanted an easy job. He wanted an easy job where he didn't have to do much, where he was away from society. That's why he wanted the job. And he says, because he's Muslim, he flat out refuses to investigate the church. And I'm like, dude, that's your fucking job. What you're doing is you're afraid to do your job because of your fucking faith. I'm not saying that as a put down. He could be any faith. But that's what he's doing. And I'm like, because there have been people that have come to him a few times during the episodes, which I haven't mentioned because they've been kind of nothing burgers, and he doesn't do anything. And everybody walks all over him. Everybody. Nobody respects him. And he's like totally okay with that because he doesn't want to ruffle feathers. Everybody walks all over. Fucking Bev walks all over him. The mayor. Nobody respects him. They know they have to have a sheriff. And he's just kind of a stick figure. They have to have one, so they fucking tolerate him. He's not an asshole. He's just an idiot. I'm not going to do this because it's like, you can't do that. You have to investigate everything these people bring to you, and don't bring up your fucking religion like, oh, they're not going to like it. Are you 2 years old? You're a fucking police officer. Do your job. Like, this is what made me hate this fucking character. So what do you think?
I don't like the sheriff. Do you know why I don't like the sheriff?
Why?
Because of everything you just said.
Yeah, fucking idiot.
Yeah. Look, I did not like that speech at all for all the reasons she just said, because he was hired to do a job, and the fact that he is not doing it because of X, Y, and Z is unprofessional and it's unnecessary. And I also think that Mike dropped the ball in the fact with saying that the sheriff's wife died.
Yeah.
And I think that he wants the audience to believe because his wife died, that's why he's like that now.
Yeah. But there's a few conversations he has with his son where he's like, do you know what it's like to see someone die of pancreatic cancer, which was the way that his wife and the boy's mother died? Like, I never want you to experience that. You don't put that shit on a kid. You do not put that shit on a kid. And the son's kind of sitting there like, and the son, because the son is Muslim, he wants to go to church because he just wants to see what it's about. And the father's like, no, we're not Catholic, we're Muslim. And the 15-year-old, I think he's about 15, he brings up a good point. He said, you never asked me what religion I wanted to be. You just said you're this. Why can't I choose what I want to be if I want to be anything? It's so true. It's so true.
Such a good line.
But people are so bogged down with, if I am this, you have to be this. Let them have whatever faith they want to have, even if it's no faith. Why do you care? Let them do what they want to do.
No, but the problem with society in general is that society wants a bunch of yes men.
Yeah.
And society wants a bunch of they want conformity.
Yeah.
That's what they want. And anyone who goes outside of that conformity is viewed as an outsider, is viewed as someone who's going to cause trouble and cause some riffraff.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, those people who want to be different just want to be different. They don't want to cause any pain to you or your belief system or your religion or what have you.
Yeah.
So I really feel it when the sheriff's son says, I never had a choice. You just told me I was this. And you told me that I had no choice. And this is what I had to believe. How dare you do that to me?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's like, be whatever religion you want to be whatever you want to be. But the minute, like you said before, the minute someone tries to force what they believe down my throat, like, you have to believe this, it's like, that's when I go, maybe you should go back to fucking camp and learn that if I have to tolerate your beliefs, you have to tolerate my beliefs. It's a two-way fucking street. It's not just, there's so many people that are like, you have to believe this. And it's like, yeah, but you want me to tolerate you, but you don't tolerate me. So what's you know what I mean? It's just, this is the world we live in at the moment and the world we have always lived in. But let people be who they want to be. And as long as they don't try to force their belief systems on you, do whatever the fuck you want. So Aaron, the doctor, and the doctor's mum want to take the boat off of the island because they know something's going on. The sheriff won't help them and they want to get the fuck off. When they get to the docks, there's no ferry. The ferry's not coming because basically the mayor has told the ferry not to come because it's Easter weekend. And they're like, well, how the fuck are we supposed to get off the island? And basically the mayor has stopped anyone from leaving the island. The mayor knows about the vampirism. He does nothing. all these people go along with it. All these people that know, because Father Paul has convinced them it's an angel. All these people are dumb.
I believe that little devil woman.
Bev.
I don't get the mayor. How fucking stupid do you have to be to realize that this guy is out of his mind? You, being the mayor, has seen somebody die and come back to life.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you explain that?
You know what I have an issue with is the reason why the mayor goes along with it is because Bev tells him to. This is the whole thing that I feel like it's unresolved. Every single person bends the knee to Bev Keane. And I don't fucking know why. Nobody stands up to her. Nobody says anything to her. Everybody just goes, oh, okay, like she's queen shit. I wish there was just, that's what I mean. I wish there was
there
one.
has to be a why somewhere.
But we don't know. That's the problem. I wish there was one character that turned around and said, you know what? And just blasted her. Nobody ever put her in her place. Nobody. And I found that very weird that she was able to control everything, the narrative, the people, everything. Nobody fucking said anything. I would have loved a scene with her getting torn to pieces emotionally by someone saying, you know what, I'm fed up with your shit. So the mayor starts to cut off power to the island and the cell towers. Again, these people are psychopaths. Like, these cutting everyone off, which again makes for good horror because now you've really fucking trapped them. They can't ask for help. At the Easter sermon, because this is Easter weekend, the Father Paul is giving his sermon and then the demon shows up in like a fucking Pope shawl thingy and it looks so fucking creepy. He just walks down the fucking aisle in this shroud and you're just like, oh my God. And then he stands at the front, his wings come out and everybody's scared. And Father Paul, this actor Hamish does such a good job. Oh my God. He's telling people, do not be afraid. It's an angel because God said you will be afraid of angels. You know, he's reading from the Bible and do not be afraid. And everyone's like, oh, okay, if he's not afraid, I guess we shouldn't be afraid, but you should be afraid. So he's telling them it's an angel. Don't worry about it. Even though it fucking clearly doesn't look like an angel, but it's a fucking angel. And then, I've seen this miniseries before. He hands out, Bev actually hands out poison in cups for people to drink. As he says, your body must die in order to be reborn. This is very Jim Jones drinking the fucking Kool-Aid. I think this is where Mike got it from. Because if anybody knows the Jim Jones thing, this is what he did. He brainwashed people and then he brainwashed them so much that he made them drink poison. There's like he made 900 people drink poison because he said you have to die in order to come back. So Mike's taken that from real life and put that in his story, which is very, very unnerving because this actually did happen. Not the vampirism, but this actually did happen. It's fucking insane. So most of them do it. They fucking do it, right? Right. Just like Jim Jones style. They fucking drink the Kool-Aid. No disrespect to the actual victims of the Jim Jones massacre. They do it. And they all die from poisoning and then they come back. And they basically they're all vampires now. They start feeding on those that didn't drink the poison because it's uncontrollable. It's an uncontrollable urge now that you're but fucking Father Paul, dickhead. Anyway, a few of them get Erin, the sheriff, the doctor, and Riley's mum. They all escape because they know the shtick and they get out. They're kind of like the survivors. Oh, and Riley's younger brother Warren and the girl that was disabled but is not disabled, they get out too. But it's a massacre. It's a massacre scene in the church. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, listen. When that vampire shows up in the sort of pulpy uniform, it's terrifying. So terrifying. Like you have oh my God, it's absolutely unsettling. But again, the actor who plays Father Paul is fantastic, and I totally understand why he won the Emmy for his role in this miniseries because he did a fantastic job. The way that if Mike took inspiration from this actual event that happened in real life to make the whole show, that would be great. But if not, I love the way that he did that, and I can't believe how dumb these people are. Like Like there is, listen, there is having faith. Even if you are a religious person, there has to be a point. There has to be a line where you go, I'm a person of faith, but that's a step too far. And the fact that only a few people did that in this show really pisses me off.
Yeah. That's why I'm comparing it to the Jim Jones thing, because a lot of people, it's very annoyingly easy to brainwash people, especially when they think they have nothing else. I don't get it.
When the only thing that people have is their faith, people are very, very fragile.
Yes, that's true. That's true. All right, now we get to the final episode, episode 7, entitled Book VII, Revelation. So this episode, half of the episode were just the townspeople who are turned, running around the town, causing havoc, killing everybody in their path. It was stretched out. Literally 20 minutes of the episode is just this. And I'm like, oh, like I get it.
You know what?
Come on.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I think Mike and his writers were running out of gas.
Yeah, you didn't have to have that much of it.
I feel that they could have wrapped the episode up and they could have wrapped the series up in the last episode.
Yeah, they probably could. So basically, in the last episode, they're in the church. Bev lets them out. Father Paul has told her not to, but she goes, no, let them out, let them free. And obviously everybody fucking listens to her and nobody else. There's a reason he didn't want to let them out, because he knew that this would happen. And now it's happened. Everybody's killing everybody and everybody's killing their parents, their kids and all this. And Father Paul sits down and he realizes he's made a mistake. And it's really annoying because people only realize they've made a mistake once horrific shit happens.
It's too fucking late.
no, we fucking told you, dude.
It's too fucking late.
Yeah, but he knows he's made a mistake. And we also find out Father Paul is actually the woman doctor's father. I don't know how that has relevance to anything, but
what?
Yeah, he's her father. He had a little thing with the mother fucking 40 years ago. So he's her father, and that's why he wants to protect her.
Does she know that?
Yeah, he tells her in the episode.
Okay. I must have missed that.
Because he walks into the church that's now empty, and he finds the doctor about to light the fucking church on fire. She's pouring gasoline on everything. And then he tells her that he wishes he got to know her, and she's like, yeah, I wish I got to know you too. And then Paul, what have I written here? Paul catches, what is it? Sorry, let me fucking start that again. When Father Paul catches her doing it, he says, I'm your father and all this stuff. And then he says, good, because he knows he's made a mistake. He wants her to burn everything to the ground. And he's proud of her. He says, I'm proud of you for doing this. He doesn't even try to stop her. And he wished they got to know each other, blah, blah, blah. I already said that. So a townsperson comes in and basically shoots her because she's going to burn the church down. And Paul fucking loses it and fucking jumps on the guy and tries to fucking kill him. And the guy goes, oh, I thought she was doing something wrong. And there's this really nice scene where you really, really like the doctor. And she dies. And it's just like, oh my God. And it's just the mother's there, who's now younger. Her father's there, which is Father Paul. He's there, and it's a heartbreaking scene. But the weirdest thing is, Bev tells everybody to burn the town to the ground, burn all the houses, burn all the convenience stores, burn everything to the ground, but keep one building, which is the rec center, that they can, and she set up beds that they can stay in during the day. What?
What's the point?
What the fuck? Why did you do
What's
this?
the point? Why would you do that?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, but I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I just want to say first of all, everything, like all those scenes that Dean just mentioned, are fantastic. It's just wonderful. I did feel that little cog that Father Paul was the father of the doctor. I felt that that was a little shoehorned in. What do you think?
Yeah, it wasn't really fucking necessary at all.
Yeah. But also I, at this point I was wondering to myself, what did Father Paul think was going to happen when the angel came inside the fucking church.
He didn't know though.
What did he think was going to happen?
He just thought everybody would turn into what he is and everything would be great. He didn't realize this shit would happen at all. That's what I mean. He didn't think. He just fucking did.
Yeah. He fucking did. Listen, I really think that is his downfall, is that he acted without thinking it over.
Yeah.
And also the fact that Bev thinks that burning down the entire town is a good idea. Like, what? Like, excuse me, if you kill everyone and burn down the town, what the fuck are you guys gonna live on? Fucking rats?
I know. You know, having faith is fine, but he has blind faith. That's dangerous. Blind faith is dangerous.
No. She has blind faith. Yeah.
They all do. That's why they let everything slide. They all do. But what the survivors do is they know that they want off the island. So they burn all the boats. They burn anything that they can find to stop them from leaving the island. And the demon grabs Erin and begins feeding on her. But what she does is she pulls out a knife and she begins to cut into the wings of the demon. So when it's finished, when this demon flies off, it can barely fly because it's like having a kite and ripping holes in the kite. It won't do what it's supposed to do. It can't fly properly because there's air pockets. So that's what she does, which was kind of ingenious. And when the demon tries to fly away, it struggles. It struggles to kind of get in it has to really, really kind of push. And Warren, which is the Riley's younger brother and the girl that's disabled, they're out in the rowboat and they see this demon trying to struggle to fly off the island because it has to get to, there's nowhere for it to hide now because Bev has burned everything down. And the girl in the wheelchair, or now she's not, but she goes, do you think it's going to make it? And he goes, it's 30 miles to land and it doesn't look like it. Now, it was always an open-ended question whether the demon actually made it to the mainland or whether it didn't. I don't think it did. What do you think?
I don't think it did because it was pretty fucked up.
It was pretty fucked up, yeah. So the last bit is the sunrise is coming, and the rec center that Bev has set up for everybody.
This is just great.
Erin and the sheriff gasoline it and they burn it to the ground. And Bev is like, oh, fuck, now we've got nowhere to go because she's fucking burned everything, right? And the townspeople freak the fuck out. And she goes, I don't know where we're going to go. So basically the sun comes up and there's nowhere for them to go. And they all burn up exactly like Riley did. They all burn up. And yeah, basically the last shot is Warren, Riley's the younger brother, and the girl in the wheelchair in the boat, and they watch the sunrise because they didn't drink the Kool-Aid, they didn't drink the poison, so they don't burn up, they're still human. And she says, I can't feel my legs. So basically saying whatever the blood is, if you're not continually getting a dose, it wears off. But that's it. They were basically the only survivors, I think, and that's kind of where it ends.
I love the way that this devil woman from hell dies. It's so fun.
Because she freaks out. She's on the beach and she tries to like burrow into the fucking sand. No, man, no.
She tries to burrow it.
So funny.
No, please. I'm gonna fuck it up. So what are you thinking? What is she trying to do?
She tries to burrow herself into the sand. Like she tries to dig a hole in the sand, but I'm like, dude, she could have done that if she had thought about it 30 minutes before and like dug a hole like a grave and she could have done it, but she didn't even think.
It's so great. Her death is the most satisfying death in the whole show.
It is, but I would have loved someone to just tell her, you know, you're a fuckwit and fucking everybody hates you. And I guess Erin kind of did, but it wasn't good enough for me. Was not good enough because she got away with everything. She got away with it.
Yeah, she did. But also another thing with her character that would have been great is for us to try and understand why she was the king's shit.
Yeah, why nobody crossed her.
This is the only show that I've ever seen where not only does the principal main character bite it, but the person that's supposed to replace him bites it as well.
They both bite it. That's true. That's true.
And I'm like, and the people that the people who actually are there at the end are the last people that you expect on the planet to be there in the end.
Yeah.
It's so ballsy for Mike to do that.
It's a wonderful miniseries. It's fantastic. You just can't go. It's masterful in every single way. So, trivia.
Yes, go right ahead.
Midnight Mass was originally going to be a film, but then Netflix picked it up as a show. I think it works better as a show.
I love the show, but I would be really interested to see what this movie would look like as a film.
Yeah. No, I agree. Riley's death scene was the second day of shooting.
Oh my god.
So the actor was like, it was difficult because it's like I didn't really know my acting partner, and it's just the second day and now I got to get into character. I mean, he did it, but it was just, and all the scenes between Riley and Aaron, those big monologues, that was done in like I think the first week of shooting. So they shot, because they'd already written the episode, so they film. When you shoot a miniseries like that, everything's out of order, and they just edit it together at the end. But they shot all of their scenes in the first week.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, generally in a movie and in a film, they shoot out of order anyway.
Yeah, they do.
But to shoot your death scene on the second day, that's a little quick.
Yeah, but he did it. There's not much trivia that I thought was interesting, but the last bit of trivia is, in Mike's previous movies, one of his first movies, Hush, and Gerald's Game, in both of those movies feature the fake book Midnight Mass.
Oh, cool.
Because Midnight Mass was something he'd been wanting to make for years.
Hold on. So is he kind of saying that book in his previous works was like a story and a fable?
Yeah, probably.
And the fable that's in that book is the fable that we saw on the show?
Yeah, I would say so.
I really like that.
Yeah, me too. That's the end of my trivia. Thank you, everybody, for listening to our Halloween special. We hope you enjoyed our dissection of the amazing miniseries Midnight Mass. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. If you want to email us, you can email us at themixtapepod@aol.com. And hopefully you like our miniseries and we'll continue to do miniseries. Please subscribe. And like I said, go check out our other episodes on YouTube or on any podcast platform. And check out our Dharma miniseries that we've done as well.
When we die, what happens?
What the fuck happens?
So what do you think happens when we die?
Speaking for myself?
Speaking for yourself.
Myself. That's the problem. That's the whole problem with the whole thing. That word. Self. That's not the word. That's not right. That isn't. How did I forget that? When did I forget that? The body stops a cell at a time, but the brain keeps firing those neurons. Little lightning bolts like fireworks inside, and I thought I'd despair or feel afraid, but I don't feel any of that. None of it. Because I'm too busy. I'm too busy in this moment, remembering. Of course. I remember that every atom in my body was forged in a star. This matter, this body is mostly just empty space after all, and solid matter, it's just energy vibrating very slowly, and there is no me. There never was. The electrons of my body mingle and dance with the electrons of the ground below me and the air. I'm no longer breathing. And I remember. There is no point where any of that ends and I begin. I remember I am energy, not memory. not self. My name, my personality, my choices all came after me. I was before them, and I will be after, and everything else is pictures, picked up along the way. Fleeting little dreamlets printed on the tissue of my dying brain. And I am the lightning that jumps between. I am the energy firing the neurons, and I'm returning. Just by remembering, I'm returning home. It's like a drop of water falling back into the ocean, of which it's always been a part. All things, a part. All of us, a part. You, me, and my little girl, and my mother, and my father. Everyone who's ever been, every plant, every animal, every atom, every star, every galaxy, all of it. More galaxies in the universe than grains of sand on the beach, and that's what we're talking about when we say God. The One, the cosmos, and its infinite dreams. We are the cosmos dreaming of itself. It's simply a dream that I think is my life every time. But I'll forget this. I always do. I always forget my dreams. But now, in this split second, in the moment I remember, the instant I remember, I comprehend everything at once. There is no time. There is no death. Life is a dream. It's a wish. Made again and again and again and again and again and again and on into eternity. And I am all of it. I am everything. I am all. I am that I am.
The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.